I'm so excited to be invited to this special, momentous occasion.
All right, welcome to another edition of Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley.
I'm Tyler Tilley.
And we have a very special guest with us for the second week in a row. Tell us about yourself.
And my name is Penny Claire Tilley. Very grateful to be here.
We all have the same last name. That's crazy.
Siem Reap edition. The Cambodian edition.
The Siem Reap, yeah. Siem Reap edition, Cambodia.
The mother, father, and child reunion.
Okay, so let's have a moment of silence followed by the Serenity We prayer. All right, 3 deep breaths. Serenity prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. And Penny Claire, I understand you have a reading for us today. Would you like to go ahead and read that for us, please?
Yeah, we talked about it briefly, so I found it this morning when I woke up, and I really like it. So it's from Chapter 4, We Agnostics. I'm going to start reading at the bottom of page 44. It says, if a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral. We could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will all these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where and how were we to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. That means we've written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And it means, of course, that we're going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times we talk to a new man and watch his hope rise as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God, for we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. We know how he feels. We have shared this honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious. To others, the word God brought up a particular idea of him with which someone who had tried to impress them during childhood. Perhaps we rejected this particular conception because it seemed inadequate. With the rejection, we imagined we had abandoned the God idea entirely. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power beyond ourselves was somewhat weak, even cowardly. We look upon this world of warring individuals, warring theological systems, and inexplicable calamity with deep skepticism. We looked askance, as many individuals who claimed to be godly. How could a supreme being have anything to do with it all? And who could comprehend a supreme being anyhow? Yet in other moments we found ourselves thinking, when enchanted by a starlit night, who then made all this? There was a feeling of awe and wonder, but it was fleeting and soon lost. We of agnostic temperament have had these thoughts and experiences. Let us make haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend a power, which is God. So, should I tell you why I chose that this morning? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have found some of my experiences, some of the meetings that I was attending, 12-step meetings I was attending, were really beautiful, fun social clubs. And I would often attend speaker meetings where there was no mention of the 12 steps or God or recovering from this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So I even found that when I wanted to talk about God, that I was considered weak or pitied. So when I read, well, that's exactly what this book was written for, was so that you could find a power. And I think I shared maybe the last time, not sure, but I experienced a time in my life where no human power could relieve my alcoholism. And also, I think in this chapter it says it not only solves my alcohol problem, but all of my problems. And I just think it's a highlight for me to go to a meeting where there's like-minded people, and people are sharing their experiences with their own power, their own conception of God, and these unbelievable coincidences, guidance, just deeply profound living experiences, all because of their relationship with God. So I really like talking about God a lot. And so I wanted just to share that with you guys, because I know I can't do it on my own. And when I share with somebody, oh my God, this is what happened, and it's all because I prayed and asked for help. And then this miracle happened. And it's everything from resentments to fears to looking to be of service, getting guidance. So I'm kind of all over the place, but it's because I'm not really used to talking about God to other people so openly. But I like to do that more. So thanks for letting me share on these couple of pages.
Great, thank you.
Anybody like some tea?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Tea break. This tea break is sponsored by
We are actually
Empress Hotel.
in a hotel room in Cambodia doing this episode of Real Raw Recovery, where I am an honored guest.
Pouring the tea. Cheers.
Cheers.
You didn't cheers me, Dad. You avoided me.
To Jasmine tea and
Is there something wrong with me or
God.
Mom? That's a little
God.
weird. Why would you kind of like go
God.
around me?
Hear God, hear God.
There's only two of us. Why did you guys forget to cheers me?
Oh, that's nice tea.
Okay. So that's great. I mean, I think that obviously the book tells us that, you know, you just what the point you read is that the purpose of this book is to help us to find God, really a power that will help us to stay sober, whatever that God looks like. That'll give us the power that we need, the power that we lack. Because if we had the power, we wouldn't need God, we wouldn't need AA, we wouldn't need anything. We'd just do it. If we didn't need the power. So yes, obviously that's a large part of the program, the center of the program, the center force of the program. And why we don't hear more about that, I don't know. I mean, I could be like play the devil's advocate here and just to say that if I'm at a meeting, I'm going to have to assume that everybody there has some sort of concept of God, or they wouldn't be there. So I need to talk about God at this particular meeting, because I can make the assumption maybe that everybody's got some concept of God going on here. But you know, I mean, it's I know that if I'm in a newcomers meeting and somebody brings up the topic of the second or third step, or you know, obviously there's going to be about a lot of talk about God, and I like to share my journey and how I was able to develop a relationship with a power greater than myself, and how I was able to find a power greater than myself. So that's what I would be sharing at in a meeting where we're talking about the second or third step.
Can I interject there
sure.
for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking also that I think that's so valuable, but also how do you connect with that power today? Not only how you were introduced and how you went from being agnostic to believing that in this power, but how do you apply that to your life today?
He doesn't like to talk about that. He only likes to talk about 26 years ago. We've gone through this for 2 years.
Like
no, that's not it. Because the thing is like we have this ongoing thing where I like to relate to the newcomer and relate my experience to the newcomer, because I think it's helpful. And Tyler likes to talk about
today,
eating the cake, and where are you at today, and let's talk about today, not 26, 27 years ago. So anyway, I like to talk about today and yesterday, and I like to share my experience and how I found that power, find that power, and I like to, because I think it's important for somebody who is like me, somebody who considers himself atheist, who's probably agnostic, to find out how to find that power. But I mean, today, my relationship with that particular power has, I'd say, grown, maybe developed over the years, and to the point where a lot of the ways that I make the connection are similar. Like I do the same thing every day. I ask for help to stay sober in the morning. I do my readings and meditation, and that's my part of my deal. And when I become frustrated throughout the day, when something happens that maybe takes me away from my that connection, maybe breaks that, snaps off that connection for a while, whether I get angry, agitated, something happens and I lose the connection, I'm able to get it back. And I'm.
How do you get it back?
My goal is to get that back as soon as possible and as painlessly as possible. I get that back by starting with the Serenity Prayer, which I use a lot. Mm-hmm. I use the Serenity Prayer a lot throughout the day, and many times when when my thinking takes me to a place that I'm not really happy with, I'm not very comfortable. It's causing me aggravation or anger or just breaking my connection. Then I'll stop and I'll say the Serenity Prayer until my thoughts change. And sometimes it takes me a while to feel like I am really connecting. Sometimes it takes a while for me to feel like I'm really, sometimes I feel like I don't belong somehow. I feel like I'm disconnected from this, not just from God, but from the world. And I'm isolated on my own sometimes, and I feel like I don't have any connection to anything.
When I said to you, I forget where it is in the book, so if anybody hears this, can tell us where we find it in the book, when it says all of your problems. So not just your alcoholic problem, but that this power can solve all of your problems. So do you have any examples of where it solved some other problems, since you do have 27 years of sobriety? Anything in the last little while, problems that you've depended on this higher power?
Yeah, I think it's like I'm trying to find that bit. So, all right. How does it solve all my problems?
Yeah. Have you had a problem recently where your faith in this power greater than yourself was applied? I just had one at the beginning of this trip. I felt like I was getting a really insane cold. I thought my throat, and I just had faith that it wasn't going to get bigger than it was. And I remember somebody told me it's not so much the higher power, it's faith in the power. And it's like faith without works is dead. So having faith that there's something that can help me. And anyway, my cold didn't turn into a cold. Kind of small,
yeah, but that's good.
Yeah.
That's and really that happens to me too. Like whenever, lately. So.
While you're thinking about that, you want Tyler to pop in?
I'm good.
You're good. He's good.
Says this power can solve all your problems. And then I can hear Aaron, my sponsor, go, all of them? Yes, all of them. Like I can use it if I'm in a funk, I'm depressed, I'm bummed out for no reason. I can ask for a shift in perception, another name for a miracle.
Well,
Step 10.
yeah. Okay, so I would have to say that even, this morning, before I get down, there, for some reason it takes me a little while, like a couple of minutes before I actually get down on my knees to ask for help to stay, for that day to stay sober, and then I do the third step, seventh step, and 11th step prayers, and even before I start, I think, do it right now, and then I wait a minute, and then I do it. But then I do it, and then as soon as I do it, I feel, that's good. I feel better. I feel more connected. And so, yeah, whenever I do that, I feel more connected. So when there's less time, I guess this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then... Yeah, sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed, and I'll get an idea in my head, probably very short time ago, this afternoon, this morning, where I start to imagine that there's some doubt in my mind about what's going on, fear about what might happen, and I just started to, I'm not sure if I started saying the Serenity Prayer or whether I just was able to shift without it, but I just was having some doubt about well, yeah, I guess a little bit of fear about the future, maybe a little fear of financial security was starting to creep into my mind a little bit, and I was able to shift that focus to. I went to a place where no, I'm not going to go there, because I do trust that everything is going to be okay. I do trust that everything is going to be okay. I do trust, and I do realize that this thought that I'm having right now is just a temporary. Is something that's just temporary. And I know that it'll go away, and I'm going to feel better, and this thought will disappear. And it did.
Great. I think that's what I'm talking about. All your problems.
Mm-hmm.
For that reason, I like sometimes people call it the fear wiper prayer or the resentment wiper, asking for help to remove my fear and guide me as to what you would have me be.
Mm-hmm.
Or God save me from being angry when I have a resentment. And how can I be helpful? Yeah, there's just something about connecting with a power that can steer me in a more helpful, beneficial path.
Yeah, because I don't like to have fear. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel good. And if I have an option to have fear or not have fear, obviously it makes a lot of sense to not have fear. Or go to the power, if that's what takes away the fear. And I don't have to apologize for that or feel bad because I do that or anything like that. It's great. I'm the fact that I don't possess the power to control that stuff on my own, that I have to turn to the power for that, I'm okay with it.
So I give myself that time to
Oh, good. Thank you for sharing that.
ponder.
Because I thought you might lose some
Listeners? Listener.
I think we lost the Wi-Fi, Pa.
We'd like to thank our listener for...
I think right now that it's interesting being a human being. And I think that there's so many unknowns, and I've kind of shifted my perceptions and ideas, and as I said in the reading philosophy, so much over, especially the last little while, that I'm not really held on to too many things, so I can kind of like come at it from all different angles and kind of like think of it as if I was a prosecutor or a defender or a ambivalent, or I just agree. Kind of just depends on the day. But I do know that I like to think of things like, here's the doctrine that we read, here's what it's saying, and then I like to think about, okay, so AA is like a community of people, and they come together and they help each other, and they follow scripture and writings and former people following the same doctrine, and then it carries over, and people build decades based on these philosophies and these ways of these actions. And at the root of it, as we read, is and they kind of, it's very inclusive, so there's not a lot of holes, so it's very like everyone, there's not a lot of, it's hard to kind of argue against the concept of this. They're not saying you have to believe in this, you can believe in whatever you want, and in theory believing in whatever you want will help you from alleviate you from in your, what you said, all your problems. So I think that what I get out of, I think there's huge power in community, and when you want to be part of the tribe and part of the community, and you follow what the other people are doing, it's a good thing. I think people need that. I need that. I don't think that I can do everything on my own. I do think that I made a decision to be part of a community that believes in these kind of structures and these concepts and complete abstinence, and then a design for living that can help you change your behaviors and your, in some cases, what you believe in, and that whole thing is a long time. That's it's been a long journey of constantly changing. I don't even necessarily call it growing, but constantly changing and experiencing real situations and life on life's terms. But that's why I like to be called it real raw, like, because I don't really have I'm not in an altered state while I'm going through these experiences on this planet. So I'm really grateful for that. Like, so I've made a decision that I'm not going to experience my sister's wedding inebriated. I will be just without any sort of mood altering substances at my sister's wedding. That was a decision over the course of time and then when it happened, and then you can look back on it, like I can have vivid memories of all these certain things, and the way that I was reacting was just me without any sort of outside influence into my brain. Like I wasn't, like, I don't even want to call it polluting my brain. Like I just didn't have any sort of outside interference, and also I feel like without any sort of mood altering drugs or alcohol, I really have built a relationship with my thinking and the way that my brain operates, and I really like that. But just to kind of come back, I'm just kind of rolling with it, but I really believe that there is a doctrine that and there's a layout which we call the steps, I think that was really important, and they kind of integrate into my life like for so long, and there's a lot of great wisdom and there's a lot of great direction in there, and I think it's useful. And I've just, for me personally, it has been a long it unveils like different periods in my life, and I can really see the difference of who I was 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago, and because I still hover around the community, I haven't left it, and it hasn't been completely removed from my life. I still like that kind of structure and that foundation. But I think I like to put a lot of emphasis on it, because there's been times in my life where I wouldn't put so much. I wouldn't give the community so much credit. I'd say, well, it's your self-development, your relationship with God, based on these principles that we have in this book. That's that's the most important thing. And then today, when I'm just hearing you guys, almost to take the be a contrarian, like, well, no, I really think the community is probably what the most valuable asset is in the program. Just the fact that you're going to go there and people are going to embrace you, that power in itself, when you've come from either shit or nothing, can probably be the most effective thing. When you go, hey, great to see ya, and then we're going to go get coffee. And so the last thing I'll say is that I also believe, it's just a kind of different way to look at it, is that you're breaking up your cycles and your habits and your rituals and your routines by going to meetings and changing people, places, and things by just simply getting involved in the community is going to shift how you manage your life immediately. And that in itself is profound. Like, now, instead of doing what you used to do on Tuesday at 7, you're going to a meeting, and that's going to take up a 4-hour window in theory, maybe 3 or something. And then you're going to connect with people that are embracing you, and you're embracing them, and then you're embracing new people that are coming into the tribe. And so you have that kind of cycle, and it's really healthy. And of course, you're not in theory looking outside of yourself to feel better. And and then you're going to go over the doctrine, and then you're going to talk about your life, and you're going to connect with people that are on the same path. Like, all that community thing is just kind of what popped into my head when I heard you guys reading that, and how, like, the words that you're saying are just so like, there's just like, solve all your problems. I just picture someone at a podium speaking to the people, and it's like, but I think that's just what struck me today, was just the community of and how you feel when you're part of something, and that you're willing to go like, well, they told me to do this, I better do that. Mm-hmm. Oh, they told me to do that, I better do that. And then it starts working for you, and then you go, oh, you know what they told me? To do this. You should do that. It's kind of like the cycle. Mm-hmm. And I just think that I just try to look at things a little bit differently, and we still might come to the same conclusions, and there might be a day where you catch me like, no, you need to just go through the steps with someone you trust, and they'll tell you their experience as they go through the steps with you, and that'll be the backbone of your recovery. Like, there's some days where I'll focus just on that, but today it was the community element. That's it for me.
Okay, so I want to say something. So, because in 2014, when our son, your brother, died, I'd always been in Alcoholics Anonymous as a fellowship. And I thought it's quite interesting. When they wrote the book, what came first, the fellowship or the book?
Fellowship. First 100.
The first 100. So then they said, oh, let's just name it. No, didn't they say that we'll call ourselves Alcoholics Anonymous?
The book called the book Alcoholics Anonymous, based on they called themselves Alcoholics Anonymous based on the book, because they couldn't find anything for the book, but they came up with Alcoholics Anonymous for the book.
Right. So whatever it is,
60 started to write it according to a vicious cycle.
Right. So there's two Alcoholics Anonymouses. There's Alcoholics Anonymous the book, and there's Alcoholics Anonymous the fellowship. And I could hear what you're saying, Tyler. It's like debatable For me, it's not debatable. The Alcoholics Anonymous, the book, the steps, the purpose of the book is what saved me. The fellowship, I could get no comfort from the fellowship when Spencer died. None whatsoever. Sponsors, people that had 35 years, people that go to 7 meetings a week, people that, whatever. Anyway, there was no human power that could relieve my new problem. And but I remember hearing God could and would if he were sought, and that's what the whole book is written about. So after, it's been 5 years now since Spencer's gone, and I am starting to very much respect the fellowship. Some of my greatest friends have been friends over the years. I came into the fellowship in 1991. I don't know where I'd be without them. Some of these people, women and men, are some of my greatest friends, my go-tos. So I got rid of the fellowship and just threw myself into the book and became a big book thumper, a mucker. I could not believe the profound experience I had by having an experience of spiritual awakening with God. And I could hardly wait to do step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening, I wanted to share this profound, deep, wonderful experience with other people. So now I also experience the fellowship as a place to go to find somebody to share the good news. Like, hey man, this is going to work for all your problems, not just your alcoholism. So I could talk like that to somebody who's maybe been around for 10 years and never done the steps. But I don't want to live from that level of arrogance that the steps are where it's at, and if you're only a fellowship person, you got fucking nothing. Because that's where I went. But I was so angry. I was so angry that the fellowship couldn't help me. But Dad, Joe, experienced it differently. He felt like the fellowship held him up, and I felt like the fellowship let me down. And anyway, I'm really grateful for that experience because it made me go within, and I found a power, and I don't need the fellowship in a sick way. I need the fellowship as a human being. And I also know now how to be of service to the fellowship, not just go to meetings to what I can get. And I like when it says you're going to notice a fellowship grow up around you. And so I've been attending meetings lately where everybody is talking about 12 steps in God. And I don't really feel comfortable just going to meetings where people talk about they got a new dog, or I don't know. So where they talk about stuff that I don't think is helpful to somebody trying to solve their problems. But, maybe somebody wants to hear about how you got a new dog. I don't know. I don't have time to hear about that anymore. I don't have an attention span to listen to the mundane.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking if you can have, if the fellowship can be attractive to the point where somebody comes in and they're attracted to the fellowship enough to want to stay, then that can be helpful for them, and then to turn their attention to doing some of the work, right? Then doing the work. Then that's. I don't think you can have AA without the fellowship. I just don't think you can, and I don't think you can have and I don't think it's productive to have the fellowship without the program of recovery. So I think that you obviously need the combination of both, and I think that's what I find the probably most attractive for me is when we have a meetings that involve fellowship, newcomers coming in, they're getting a message, they're getting inspired, they're getting a sense of hope, they're staying, and that's awesome. That's the kind of the lifeblood of, I think, of AA is we keep bringing the newcomers in, and we keep carrying the message to them, but the fellowship has to be attractive to those newcomers, otherwise they won't want to stay.
Okay, but what about this? This is like something that I experienced. This is what a sponsor said to their sponsee. Like, I can't help you. You just keep drinking. don't call me until you've gone to 90 meetings in 90 days. When I heard that, I thought if the person could quit, then they wouldn't need you or freaking meetings. Like, they need God. The sponsor didn't say anything about, hey, we got to do the work. You need a power. You're having a tough time. Not go to 90 meetings. And then you go to a meeting, and then somebody will say, well, then I was in grade 2. And when was I was in grade 2, my father beat me, and then he left home. And then to listen to that therapy stories over and over, I don't think the message is getting across that the book was written so that you could find a power, something in the next dimension to help you, not therapy and go to 90 and 90.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about somebody telling their stories at an open meeting or a speaker meeting, and they tell their story about their recovery and the process and all that other stuff, sometimes their story involves what it took for them to get there, and sometimes if you're a newcomer, that's what you want to do, is you want to get a piece of that you can relate to, because we need the newcomer to relate.
But what happens if the talk is all about how they drank? Never about how they did the steps.
Because, if you're assuming that they're going to go to one meeting, that's probably bad. But if you're going to assume that they're going to go to a whole bunch of meetings, and this particular meeting, they're hearing a drunkalogue, maybe they're hearing about how this person struggled and came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and things are good now. If I just say that. Right,
but how are they good now?
But you're going to hear that if you hook up with somebody and they take you through the steps. You're going to hear how they, and the more meetings you come to, the more you're going to hear about how things are good now. Because it is important for somebody who's coming in to make a connection, to find that they relate, to go, God, I felt like that, and I want what you got.
No, you don't want what they got unless they're talking about God. I used to want sponsors that were confident. I used to want sponsors who could present themselves and speak really great. I don't want what a human has anymore.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is not necessarily what they have in terms of their personality.
There's nowhere in the big book that says I want what you have. That's how you choose a sponsor.
Okay, so all right. So what the end at the end of is it there?
It doesn't even say how to choose a sponsor. Sponsor just takes you through the book, takes your hand and puts it in the hand of your higher power, helps you find a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want what they have.
His defense must come from a higher power. This defense must come from a higher power.
Right. So you would want what your sponsor has if he has the ability to interpret the...
He has come to all who honestly sought him.
I just think that the fellowship has grown to the point that it's not sharing the message. There's an article called Grisham's Law, and it talks about weak tea or weak coffee versus strong tea or coffee.
Yeah.
And I think that the fellowship has watered down the message because it's not comfortable for people to talk about God. Because there's even groups now that pop up that say you can do the 12 steps without God.
Well, I think there's people who struggle with the concept of God, that word and everything else. So,
right. So then they say, call it whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But then when people say, it can just be the group of drunks, or it can be your group. I don't know. I guess that could. I don't know. But then you could just start flirting with, oh no, if I don't get to a meeting, I'm going to drink. In the olden days, you didn't go to a meeting to feel better. You went to a meeting to find somebody to
share the message of AA. You used to go there looking for a sponsee. You created a space where prospective sponsees, newcomers could come. Like I used to go to a meeting and go, oh my God, I hope the guy has something to share. If I have to sit through and listen to a drunk, I hope it's a good meeting.
We gotta pause.
Okay. Too long?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to cut you off.
That's all good.
I just saw it.
In called?
Stop it. I believe so. I'm not sure now.
Call her and just see how she's doing.
I just saw her name.
Is that her?
Yeah. I don't have reception here.
Okay. I think around there you do, Tyler. Right there. What are you looking for?
Hello. Hello.
I can't remember. It's something where it's.
Sunpan Cap. Or Noon Pan Bad Roy. Noon Pan Haroy.
Tell me what you're looking for, just so I can.
Noon Pan Searoy. Noon Pan Searoy.
Name is Dr. Long's Nightmare.
About why he goes to meetings?
Yeah, sensitivity, pleasure,
Cap.
because of pain. No, it's
Cat.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that giving. I don't know if I go
Cat.
sense of duty. I go because it's my pleasure. Is she cool? And what were you?
Again, it's my friend's shop that she's managing, not even my shop.
Oh.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, like when you're talking, is it like English at all? Like you repeated
No.
yourself. You said nipa, ni rai, nipa.
That's just the price.
Oh, okay.
So that's the same. We have numbers the same. But everything the same. They don't have the same meanings. They don't have the same concepts.
Yeah,
A
like
lot of overlap though, obviously, but like, this is delicious, this is not delicious, but like, there's a big gap. I have to think about, like, there's a few things where it's like,
Well, I went to the lady and I said, "There's no coffee. There's no coffee," and she just kind of like, no coffee. I just automatically assumed that she understood the coffee pot was empty. So when I went over and I pressed the lever, she went, "Oh." So she didn't know that no coffee meant we were out of coffee.
right,
Yeah.
right, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and there could be really dramatic differences between no
Yeah.
coffee
Yeah.
and out of coffee.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have, like, it's a different context.
Right, because I was so surprised when she got it, but not until I pressed the lever. Like, why else would I be saying coffee to her? Like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, anything.
But she, yeah. And even, it could be 1,000 things, right?
Yeah, and just the way that they think, like what they're thinking about,
Yeah.
is not always lining up with what we're thinking, priorities and stuff.
Like, back to our message and stuff like that, like...
I'm gonna keep recording. Sorry,
okay.
I stopped it.
is I have this really close friend, and she said, just like around type 1s, 2s, and 3s, like people that just can't, they are totally powerless and they know that, versus pulling up your bootstraps and saying, you know what, like, I just set my mind to it and I don't drink. And she just said to me, Penny Claire, type 2s belong in AA. And there are people that absolutely love their group and have Christmas parties and fellowship outside the group. But when shit hit the fan, that didn't help me. It didn't help me. And I'm watching my friend. I have a friend whose daughter died September 19th, and that's helping her. Her fellowship, her girlfriends are carrying her through. And with me, I just was so filled with fear and so much anger, I couldn't let any human power help me. Which I'm kind of grateful for, because it was only because of that I developed my own relationship with something inside me that I can just sit still and be with.
Okay. If you were talking to a smart person
Yeah.
that had no real concept of what AA is,
Yeah.
but you only got to tell them in 2 sentences in the elevator.
Okay.
Oh, so what? Sorry, there's an AA conference here. What's AA?
What would be my 2-minute or my 2-sentence elevator?
Honest.
Going from
Not feeling.
Okay.
Honest. Because the guy's not. You're trying to like really crystallize what the fellowship is. What the program is. What AA is.
Okay, I'm just going to try this one on. AA gave me a path to follow, which gave me power to do for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Okay, so again, can
I might try that.
I?
AA gave me a path to follow to lead me to a power that was greater than myself, that could do for me what I couldn't do for myself.
I have no idea what AA is.
Right.
You didn't describe it at all.
I thought you
just
just
gave a personal like synopsis. Like
AA is
AA
a religion that believes that God believes in a God-driven lifestyle based on abstinence.
But it's not really a religion.
It is. That's why I'm saying let's get really honest. It's a
Why is
group
it
of people
religion?
following a doctrine.
I think religion means path to God.
Sure,
Path.
whatever.
I think that's the definition.
I think
of
I'm
religion
also
is
using
path to
religion
God.
to be polite instead of cult.
It's not a cult.
It's
because,
similar.
No, because cult doesn't.
The way you talk about it is very cultish. Like, if you don't follow this way, you're not going to get these results. You got to follow how we do it.
No.
Yeah,
I don't care if you do.
but you do.
No.
Because that's all you talk about.
Yeah, so I just hang out with people that talk like me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to blackball you. I'm not going to blackball you. I'll practice being kind.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but that's just a nice cult. You're very polite.
But here's
because isn't a cult, just a second, isn't a cult if you don't do what they say? Like, I'm trying to think of Jimmy Jones.
Yeah, I know, but you're adding. I think if there
What's
are
a-
cults out there that
What's a
are
cult? Definition of cult.
pausing it.
Okay.
But that's why I just said religion. I try to avoid this.
Well, I think it's a religion because it's my path to God.
Mm-hmm.
The 12 steps are my religion.
I know, but I'm just trying to tell a guy in the elevator in 2
Alcoholics
sentences what it
Anonymous
really
is
not
a-
like I had a like, no.
Go to cult.
Yeah.
Alcoholics
not a cult.
Anonymous is a book. Alcoholics Anonymous is a book that lays out 12 steps as a guide to living, to introduce me to a power greater than myself, to do for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Okay, there's 2 things here.
Okay.
A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or subject or object. Number 2, a person or thing that is popular or fashionable among a particular group or section of society. A particular system of religious worship, especially with reference to its rites and ceremonies. An instance of great, again that word, veneration of a person, ideal, or thing, especially as manifested by a body of admirers. The physical fitness cult.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, the big book. This scripture that was written by these men is revered. And you can't talk, like, you would never be able to go, well, no, like, we should talk, if you're reading the Bible, we should read the Bible. No, we don't read anything like that. We only read from here.
But
This is the scripture.
No. Because there are people who read the Bible in big book.
Where?
In meetings.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard people say, the other big book. And
Oh,
Jesus is
that's
my
what I'm
higher
saying,
power.
but in the traditions, you can't just start reading the newspaper in the meeting.
Well,
Yes,
you
you
can.
can.
No,
Do whatever
I
you
was
want.
told you couldn't. In my
You
first
can,
year,
you can
I
do
brought
it.
in
Father,
people
you
are
can-
sitting there reading
You
their
can do
phone.
whatever you want.
No, I'm saying reading out loud.
But you can do that.
We
No,
can't- we
I don't
can't
believe
read-
that.
If I get to
meeting-
if I get to the front of the room and I start reading the newspaper,
Yeah.
probably someone's going to stop because it's got nothing to do with what's going on in recovery. But the focus should be on recovery and helping others.
Here's what I think would happen.
Okay.
You change the meeting, and you start reading. Every day we're going to read from...
The Toronto Star.
No. Let's try to read... Anthony DeMello.
It won't play.
But in the reading, during the... so we're going to do 12 traditions, and then after the traditions and Man in the Glass, we're going to read a page from Anthony DeMello.
Yeah. We can't,
Okay.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Right. That's my point.
Okay. But okay, what's your elevator speech? What Alcoholics Anonymous is honest?
But I'm trying to be so I'm just trying to think, because it's really just for me. It's a start. For me, it's a conversation starter.
Okay, so here we are in the elevator. I've never heard of Alcoholics Anonymous. What is this
Are we
Alcoholics
recording
Anonymous
it now, or
convention?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, because I was looking up cult.
Okay, so Tyler, you're gonna get in the elevator with somebody, and you're at
There's
an
a
AA
convention
conference.
downstairs,
yeah.
right.
And they'll go, "What? Oh, I noticed you got that name badge on. What is Alcoholics Anonymous?"
AA is a community of people that believe in abstinence from mood-altering substances. It's similar to a religion. And I want to add. So I'm just. It's similar to religion. So maybe I'd even leave that. That way, I won't concept that you believe in God.
So you have to believe in God?
Are you asking me like you're
Yeah,
in the elevator?
I'll pretend that I'm the guy in the elevator.
Yeah, it's based on a premise that you believe in some sort of higher power in order to maintain abstinence.
Yeah, like that's why I heard about it. Like, I don't believe you need God to quit. Like, I got a brother-in-law. Like, he just like decided he wasn't going to quit, and I don't smoke anymore. I think it's just like willpower. Like,
No, it's a community.
Yeah.
That's where that comes in. Oh no, I understand. But if you want like support as you live without alcohol, it's a good community for that. You can do it on your own if you want. I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I'm sure people do.
Some people do, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people do. So here's what.
But I think so if I may,
Yeah.
just this conversation we're having.
Yeah.
I like to step out sometimes and do that, like where you're just casually. Yeah, some people, complete alcoholics, stop drinking. It happens. But then when we're so close to everything, and we're so like, well, no, then you got it. I hate going to like you're so into it. It's just like I like to go, whoa. It's a community of people, similar to religion, that abstain from alcohol. Okay, now I can get kind of come back to earth a little bit versus like weaving in and out of the like all the readings. I just sometimes I need a break from that to remember what's going on here, what's really happening, what the benefits are. Like some people are really into like the Bible at the church.
Yeah.
So you have the church and everyone's sitting, and we kind of look down on the church, so it's almost like it has this negative connotation. But some people really know the Bible in and out,
Right?
And they can read and speak in tongues and everything. And then there's some people that's really like the vibe.
Yeah.
They sing the songs.
Right.
Then there's some people like, why am I here?
Right.
Why am I
Okay,
here?
but just a second. Like
Right?
it's
It's the same goddamn
So you
thing.
say it like it's like a cult.
No, I didn't. I changed. That's why I said I didn't want to say cult.
Okay.
Because I feel like, again, negative connotation. I'm not trying to put AA down.
Right.
I was just trying to be as brutally honest as possible.
But you know what happened is, the experience that I had is the 12th step. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message. I've never wanted to try and carry this message. Like, I had a profound spiritual experience. So it was so exciting for me. And then when I meet other people that go, oh my God, this is what mine was, same thing, so exciting for me. So then it's like connecting with other people who had this spiritual awakening. And it's so, sometimes it's very difficult to put it into words, but it's an exciting community to be in where you meet people who are at their wits' end with no way out, and they found a way out.
So what's the difference between you and someone knocking at your door trying to convert you into Mormonism?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but you are. They even tell you, go to the bar and find someone who needs help. It's the same, like, and the people that are knocking.
Yeah,
oh,
but
wait. The people that are knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Assume those people really need to find
No,
help.
no, 'cause
Just like you assume that people are at their wits' end.
No, because it says here, Do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You're sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you have to offer.
Yeah, keep knocking on doors.
Right. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who
But go to
cannot or will
meetings.
not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon be convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend up too much time. So I want to have enough. I think it's just love for my fellow man. Like I went up to one girl and she said, I haven't drank, but I keep shoving my finger down my throat and I keep throwing up. So when I went and got my year medallion, I feel like I'm a fake because I'm not really sober because I can't stop throwing up.
She's sober. She's just doing other things.
Right. So then I just said to her, well, 12 steps can work for that too. And she goes, really? And I go, yeah. Why don't we go through the steps and see? We'll just substitute the word eating disorder and bulimia and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And that girl is sober today. She hasn't thrown up and she feels more secure in her sobriety. So I'm really glad I presented that to her. But if she just said to me, yeah, I'll talk to you about it some other time. Sounds good. I'm not going to go chasing her.
Let me just add in there, in the elevator, it's a powerful community, I would add.
Okay.
When I hear that, yeah, there's power there.
But don't you tell people about your good news?
No, the longer I'm sober, I realize it's not for everyone. And in fact, I don't believe it's everyone's panacea, ultimate cure.
Don't you think everybody has that great reality deep inside, though? Like everybody can look up at the stars and think, holy shit, there has to be something bigger than me.
I know, but I don't think that's necessarily tied in with AA.
Well, it just says that on that page, that deep down inside every man, woman, and child is the knowledge of something greater than ourselves. But maybe it's a leap of faith to say that thing that's greater than that thing that makes the stars wants to help you.
But I also think, I don't know if our community is what you need. I think, for me...
Not our community.
Yeah, community.
A God.
But that's the community's belief.
No, I can't believe how many people go to AA that don't believe in God.
There's groups specifically that are non-God groups.
In Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, they're not in Whitby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Free Thinkers Group. I mean, there's the not the Free Thinkers Group, but the primordial ooze. It's not about God.
Mm-hmm.
It's about trying to make this program work without the word God. And it's but the thing is that I just wanted to these are sort of some promises from working with others that sort of capsulize things a little bit. It says life will take on new meaning, to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is a bright spot of our lives. So if you go from a place where you're lonely, despair, bewildered, you go from that place to this place, that seems like a long jump, and it's really not that far a jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what...
And that kind of ties in the fellowship and the program, right?
Right.
Because it's you get to be with newcomers and other people.
Mm-hmm.
You get real friendships.
So, I mean, that's
So that's
what
what
I
it
might
calls,
read on
right?
the elevator right there. I mean, that's what I might read.
That's
on
not
the
even
elevator.
maybe a religion. Yeah, you get to hang out with people you
Well, no,
like.
helping I don't necessarily think is religious.
Yeah.
Helping each other.
Or being in the enjoyment of others' company.
Mm-hmm. That's not really... But again, that's not what you're reading in the elevator. Just
Okay.
it might...
I might read that.
Huh?
I might read that.
It doesn't make any sense.
Read it again?
Life will take on new meaning.
Yeah, okay.
No, so you're a
Are you talking about the main beliefs?
No, I'm going to talk about a hopeless alcoholic. Okay, buddy, so I'm a hopeless alcoholic, and this is what stuck
What's
for
a
me.
hopeless alcoholic?
Hopeless, uncontrolled.
you know it. Everybody
Hopeless
knows what
alcoholic, a
hopeless
guy who
alcoholic
can't
is.
stop drinking?
The guy in the
I
street.
can't
in the
stop
back
drinking, and my
Oh.
life is falling apart. I'm dying.
Okay.
Life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish,
Through
to
the
see a
12 steps,
fellowship
right?
grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is a bright spot of our lives. And that's why I'm saying the fellowship is quite important, because that's where we have the frequent contact with each other.
Can't you have many bright spots in your life, or only one?
that's a big P, huh? Would you like to have a P like that? He said he can edit that out. Because this is a long spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an hour now.
Yeah.
Without breaks, it's about an hour. So
I just talked about you peeing because you could hear it.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to edit that out.
It's a very,
it's okay.
very steady stream.
No, because I just said
Would
to
you
Dad.
like to have a pee like that?
I said to Dad, would you like to have a pee like that?
Be great. Okay, so,
So you gotta
I'm going
edit.
to pick it up here. So, does anybody have a burning desire
Or final thought?
or final
Final thought.
thoughts?
Okay, let's all have a final thought.
Yeah.
1 minute or less.
Sure.
Okay.
Just want to make sure it's still kicking. And the good thing about your recording, sorry, is even though I stopped mine, yours kept going. So I need yours because I think I was reading Cult and it wasn't even mine wasn't
Okay.
recording.
Right.
So, what are our final thoughts?
Well, final thoughts for me. Okay, I'll go first. Final thoughts for me on this is that I don't want to think that I have everybody's answer. I know that for me, I have found a new way of living as a result of working the steps into my life and hanging with people who are like-minded. And so the fellowship is very strong for me. Fellowship has been very helpful for me in difficult times. And I've enjoyed the fellowship of a lot of other alcoholics. And I get to have a lot of fun in my life today that I never used to have. So I just think that obviously the program of recovery is in the book. It's the 12 steps. It's the textbook for recovery. But the fellowship is also a very important part of it. And that's where I think that's where we're able to connect to other people is through that fellowship.
All right. I think what I'm going to say is only what I've heard over the years, and it's what I did here is the 12 steps never get old. And you can have an experience with the 12 steps the first time you ever come to a meeting. And for me, all these many years later, I found deep peace and comfort in doing the steps again and continuing to do them over in my life. So right now, it's been about a year since I did the steps, but I really think that I continue to work 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I'm always doing the steps. This is not really what I want to say for a closing statement. Okay, gotta change my closing statement.
Switch it up.
Switch it up, okay?
Closing statement is, this is really good to talk about what I really believe because I'm not really sure, and saying it out loud I get more and more clear. I'm grateful for the 12 steps. I'm grateful for the fellowship of the 12 steps, all the A's, and I'm grateful that somehow I discovered that. So through the 12 steps I discovered my humanity, others' humanity, and God.
I think my final statement would be, I think AA is a wonderful community, and the belief systems that are followed in that community have saved my life, and then they gave me a life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I remember one time you said, alcohol and drugs gave me wings to fly and then took away the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
God gave you wings and then gave you a sky, or the 12 steps, or the fellowship.
And I'm just willing to just kind of put things out there and question things, and it doesn't, like, sometimes I say things and then I'm like, nah, I don't really believe that.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you earlier, Dad, I was 2 days ago, because this is a bit of a new routine for me not painting. I was walking in my suite upstairs, and I was walking around, and I was like this, and I was like, this is agonizing. I said, agonizing? Because I felt I wasn't being productive.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you think this is agonizing? Like you can't walk this far in my apartment, let alone and then like having a clean scent, and like, anyways, I just thought sometimes I have to do that by saying, like, to go, and I personally have come to, like, I can catch myself on that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the right word. It's agonizing, just so you know. But I mean, not always. And that's why I have, like, counsel that I'll be like, is this agonizing being in a 5-star hotel? Sorry. Just can you double check that for me?
It's like another buddy of mine where he said, I'm seething. We were playing golf.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seething
Right.
in paradise.
Right. But I kind of just feel like that. But by me saying, like, okay, I keep calling it a community. Why am I saying, like, I'm just going through why I'm saying that, what's my point? But because I'm trying to get as far away from it while I'm in it as possible, just to get a clear perspective of what's going on. Because when people are so certain of what's going on, I start getting skeptical.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Then you do this. Then you get that. Now you have a cake. Then, like, it's just like, whoa, you're killing me, man.
Yeah.
And you're probably killing a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you.
Yeah.
But because when you're so goddamn certain,
Right. And
it's
I
just
watched
like,
that.
that's where it gets scary. And I just go, okay, what is this?
Well,
it's a community. You got a bunch of meatheads in
right.
it.
So all of a sudden, I find these muckers and bookers.
Yeah.
And then I was really fucking shocked when people went back out after they'd been mucked and booked.
Right.
I was like, I bought it hook, line, and sinker
Mm-hmm.
because I had such a deep, profound experience.
Right.
But I realized I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for I'm breaking my anonymity.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
We
So
don't.
we're
We
not
just share it on
recording
our
anymore?
page.
Okay.
Yeah. We got one listener,
what was I saying?
and he's probably drunk.
What was I saying?
14 years alcoholic.
Oh yeah, and I never had a spiritual experience.
I beg to differ. That's for maybe another
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it saved you for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's
Okay.
close it up. Those are final thoughts. This has been Real Raw Recovery. Let's close with this
It's
serenity
an hour.
prayer.
It's not too bad.
Let's close with a serenity prayer. God,
God,
grant
us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change,
courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. All right. See you next time.
Boom! Mic drop.
This is called. Real.